Hey traders, welcome to Elliott Wave Cafe. This is the Cowboy here, and let's do another edition of Bitcoin and Ethereum technical analysis. So it's been a couple of weeks since we've talked last time, and that was right before Bitcoin broke out of the $18,000-$19,000 range. And we've come up pretty nicely. I mean, we're getting near 26,000, and things continue to look encouraging to the upside. This is a weekly chart on a candlestick chart, and there's no indication here of any selling pressure. I was watching the markets as we were kind of consolidating back into that area, and my comment back then was that this formation remains supported, and there was no selling pressure coming into the market, of at least nothing significantly and noticeable, especially on the weekly chart. So we kind of remain, looking higher until the price starts to indicate something that matches back to December 2017, or something that gives you a little bit more of information, like in June of 2019. There is not much to go by in terms of kind of price analysis and just direct impact here onto these charts. All right, let's take a look at also the MAs. It's something that we regularly watch every couple of weeks, and last time Bitcoin kind of corrected a little bit was after about a 73% advance above the 200-day moving average, maybe about a 75%. We've been continually watching these moving averages as to kind of keep us on the right side of the market and with the trend, and we have here the 21, the 55, I think, and the 200. The 200 right now, it's at about 12,849, and the higher this goes, the better protection Bitcoin should have on a correction lower. You can see here how the 21-day just nicely supported the price. The market just kind of dipped below that. And now let's just do a measurement and see kind of where we are above the 200-day. And I'm just going to do a rough pickup from here. And the price is at almost at 26. So we're at almost at about 100% above the 200-day moving average, which it's something that, it's not extremely alarming just yet. You can see in here that looking back, we kind of climbed as high as about 160% above the 200-day before, more of a significant decline. And if you go back into the bull market before 2017, you can see that we've had about a 131, a 127, and then the big one, when we kind of parabolically climbed above the 200-day, was almost a 300% rise. So I think, there's still room to go here before we can start to be worried about this percentage gain above its 200-day moving average. So with that being said, let's kind of take a look at our main counts in here. I'm going to start with the red count. And last time we've talked about Bitcoin, we were about right here, right in this neighborhood, and we were just monitoring to see if there was a possibility that this fourth wave would extend a little bit longer, and that didn't happen, and the markets broke higher. Our view remained continuously to look higher, and for any of this correction to provide entry opportunities or support, and for a target price of at least $30, if not $42,000 by the time we can maybe get a more significant correction. So if you look also at the moving average, I think continuing to push here will get you to that maybe 200% or 250% above that. So we remain in this count as having a 1 2 1 2, followed by this third 1 2 in here with this sharp rise in price. Maybe this is a fourth wave, and we're in the middle of this fifth wave to complete this third wave minor. And now mind you, this fifth wave starts to be a little elongated compared with this wave 1, so this can force the count, or at least force my hand to start to move this third wave, that it's still in progress, and it just continues to extend in here, and I have more subdivisions, which means that a fourth wave will probably come somewhere in the near future, or maybe I'm wrong on the placement of my wave counts back in here, and this whole thing, it's still some sort of a third wave minor that's in progress, and I still got to work on the subdivisions. But the point is that we're in a trending market, and the exact labeling of the sub counts, it's not that important unless you're trading on a very, very short-term basis, and that should take you maybe before a 4-hour chart. So just looking at the daily, you wanted to stay with the market, want to stay with the trend, and try to target, the top of this channel. If we go straight up, the top of the channel comes at about 30K. If we're going to correct a little bit lower and then push, obviously those targets will continue to climb higher. So let's just think that this is a possible third wave information. Maybe it's going to finish, shortly at some point. This is a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and then we're still doing a fifth, and we still need a 4. So that we don't have a significant correction that would match kind of anything that we've had back here, right? So the market is just continuing to trend higher, and that tells me that this third wave is still in progress. So we'll continue to just kind of monitor that and just look, even putting projections up in here, it's a little bit silly at this point, because you're trying to let the market go as much as possible. You're not looking for points where you say, yeah, this is where it's going to be the top. You want the market to kind of tell you where that is, and the signal that they're going to send is going to be pretty clear once we've hit something important. So again, we remain kind of constructive on this, and if I go back here into a maybe a 3-day chart, right? The idea is that we're in a larger fifth wave cycle in here, and that's moving through a 1-2, and we're just kind of scratching the surface of this larger third wave primary in here through a 1-2. So basically you could have some targets in here. Let me see if this is, so 106.18 multiple of the second wave comes at about 42,000, right? So that's that's a good, pretty standard move for this larger kind of third wave intermediate on there. And then we would possibly get some kind of a fourth wave pullback, and then again a fifth before you even try to kind of finish up this primary third wave, which can take us, let me see if I even have some measurements on this. Yeah, about 106.18 of this primary wave. It kind of comes at about the same levels as this intermediate third wave comes in, and that's at about 42. So I think, because we have this kind of cluster of zones, I think that's going to be an area where the prices are going to possibly take a little bit of a breather, and then we'll see if we're gonna start to correct from there. If you want to extend higher, you can get all the way up here to 110. So that's kind of on my red count interpretation. You can also see my pink, which is a similar story without much of these subdivisions being present. So still a 1-2 in here, and then we're in the middle of this larger third. I put my arrow as we were kind of breaking out of this consolidation, and again, just equality between this wave 1 and this third wave comes at about 31,000. So I think those levels are going to get hit fairly soon, and then if that follows with the fourth wave, where we continue into the 1618, you can see how, because I don't have the subdivisions here, I don't have a 1-2 like I have in here, so this allows for I'll come back to the blue, but this allows for more prolonged third wave that can push into the 1618 back here towards 63,000. So kind of staying with that. All right, blue count is more of a kind of our working daily count, where we're kind of trying to take advantage of some of the swing moves in here, and this kind of similarly, as per the pink, calls this as being a second wave instead of a 1-2. So taking advantage of that, the first rise in here is a wave 1, that's a 2, and now we're actually continuing to build a series of 1s and 2s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe to complete a wave 1 of this larger third wave minor. So you keep kind of progressing, and you're watching the channel similarly like you do with with any other trending markets in there. So going from a 12-hour to a 6-hour chart, right? 1-2 in here, then it's another 1-2, a little bit more kind of sideways instead of this one being sharp, and that's a third, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're completing this third, pushing back here in a fourth, up into a fifth towards 30K. So shorter term, if the market kind of starts to turn from here below this 22, as long as we remain above this 20K, this count continues to be valid, right? The moment we kind of start to break below here, you're going to notice that I'm getting an issue with the charting software, and that's not good. If we're finishing a third wave in here, you would expect a pullback towards a fourth wave of a lesser degree that comes at about 22,000. That would be your next chance to kind of get into this bullish move and then move to the upside, right? So that's on blue. And then the green one, it's the one where and you can see some of the commentary out there, especially from Elliott wave analysts, for example, that this could be somewhere near topping of a wave 1 in this, let's call it, intermediate wave. And I don't have the other counts on here, the other higher degree values, but you will look at this as this being a wave 1 of the lows, a 2, a 3, a 4, and some kind of a fifth in progress. It's an extended fifth, to kind of finish up this wave 1 before, then you're going to sell off here in the second wave in an ABC. So this would be, a big crash into Bitcoin, right? Because you're going to have to correct at least 50% for the second wave. Let's just call it that, right? If not a 618. But that would kind of bring Bitcoin. Let me even do a math here. So if you look at 2v1, 38% is a 12K, 50% is a 10, 61 it's at about 8100. Calling a top, let's say, at these levels, which I don't think it's the case. But again, these are just projections in case this is a wave 1. I don't think it is, because I don't see this as being an extended fifth wave. It just doesn't look right from the look of this chart, and it's not my, as I've said even a couple of weeks ago, that this is not something that I look at as being a probable interpretation on here. So it's possible, yeah, but in terms of probabilities, I don't think that this is pan out. I think this is a larger third wave advance. All right, this is kind of what I have in Bitcoin. Let's just jump over to Ethereum, and then I'll show you some rotation graphs where we're looking at some of the strength and weaknesses into the kind of crypto market overall. So jumping over to Ethereum, we are just kind of remembering from a couple of weeks ago our green count. That's a 1, 2. So we're looking for the cycle wave 3 that's already in progress, and that's a 1 in our intermediate count, and then that's a 2, and then that's another 1 and another 2. So you're looking for the meat of the move here in this kind of third wave that's actually barely just starting. And we're still containing this nice parallel lines. We're continuing to gain in here, although Ethereum has been pretty sluggish lately, and you can see that obviously from the Bitcoin dominance chart, where Bitcoin continues to dominate and take market share from the other coins. But this thing, I think it's gonna try to catch up as soon as just Bitcoin takes a breather. The trend remains up, and fundamentally, I don't really have an opinion about how important the Ethereum platform is or not, but just kind of looking at the charts and thinking that it's an important part of the overall ecosystem, I think it's going to catch up, and we're going to take this 1400 highs over the next couple of months at least. I think we're just going to continue to push here and just take those highs. So just looking at that, that's a 1, 2. You're trying to measure maybe an equality or maybe a fib projection from the bottom of the second wave for a third, so you can look at that being at least 100%, if not 1618, and then continue to push higher. So if I go from a 3-day to a 2-day, then you kind of subdivide this again. So that's a 1, that's a 2, that's a 1 sharp in 2, and now you have a series of 1s and 2s to try to break up higher for the third. The other thinking was going to a 1-day chart, that this whole thing could still be a fourth wave, where you do basically a final push up, and then I would have to take this this count from here, this minute, and then just push it up higher, continue to have that as a wave 1, and then wait for the wave 2. But this could be, so this is kind of how that would look. Let me just kind of delete that, right? If that's 1, I would just take it and place it back on there, right? And then that's, maybe that's a fourth. So you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's a 1. We're doing a 2, 1, 2, and then then you start the explosion higher in this third wave. Or you can look at it as being a series of 1s and 2s of this breakout, and you're looking for this thing to push much higher, right? So this is a little bit more aggressive, but the idea remains. You're continuing to favor the upside as long as some of these lower levels continue to hold, like 530 and then 480. The moment you start to break below these levels, then you start to have issues, and you have to kind of start to recount and look at it with the different perspective, and try to kind of keep the bullish tone to the side until something better comes along. So that's on Ethereum kind of longer term. And then you can see here, this is the subdivisions on my blue count are a little bit different because I don't have a wave 2 in here. This is just a WXY. So instead of having a 1, 2, this whole thing, it's a 1, and then that thing is a 2 cycle. So you're kind of starting from a different point, but that's looking as an intermediate wave 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a 2, and then we're working to finish this wave 1 minor. So you're gonna go in a 1, maybe near completion here shortly, and then still, you're gonna get a second, and then you will be pushing higher. So that's on Ethereum. All right, we continue to stay bullish on all these. All right, let's take a look at some rotations that I have on here, and this what I'm presenting to you here is basically a 1 week relative rotation graph. And when I say 1 week, it's that each of these points in here between, let's say, the arrow and the first dot here, it's a 1 week timeline, right? So if I look back, I go in a 1, 2, 3, about 4 weeks back, 4 to 5 weeks. And this is kind of what happened to the price of these coins. And the benchmark, which is the thing that's right here in the middle, where kind of all of this kind of hover around, the benchmark in there is the dollar index. So relative to the dollar, if you can see, most of these pairs that I have on here, it's some of them from the top 10. I have not included them all. I could, and maybe I will in a future video, or just present different things. But just by looking at this, you can see how kind of on the first line in here, it's Bitcoin, that's moving. This is a leading quadrant where you're basically beating this benchmark here by quite a bit. And then this back here, it's the weakening quadrant. So as they move up here, they're kind of weak. And depending on how far they are from this center, you can tell how weak or how strong they are. Then you're moving back here into this pink zone that's called the kind of the lagging quadrant. And then this back here is the improving one. So they kind of rotate. If I move this thing in here, you can see how, so this is kind of going back. If you can see the date back here, right? Just kind of watch this. This is, back in, beginning of October. So as I write the slider in here, you can see kind of how they rotate. So let's start from the beginning of the year. You can see back there we were in March, and as I'm kind of sliding back, they're starting to drop against the dollar index, and we had those big kind of crashes in there, and the dollar gained a lot, right? Right after the close down and all the virus news and everything that happened. So you can see how they were basically underperforming the US dollar, and then they were moving from this kind of lagging quadrant, and then we're starting to turn back. And as the summer months come along here into June, you can see how stellar it's been. A pretty good outperformer there, even with Link. So then they kind of spend a little bit of time in there, then they got a little bit weaker, but still outperformed the dollar. Link, if you look up there, it started to take off very, very strongly back in August, middle of August, and then they kind of start to chase that, and now we're kind of coming back in here as the dollar strengthened a little bit more. And that's I think this was back at the end of October. So, and then that's kind of what happened. We kind of turned back, and this is where we are kind of at the current time. This is since the data since yesterday. So you can see how Ripple, it's been kind of turning, because it's been a pretty big underperformer there, and then Bitcoin kind of continues to move. Ethereum is starting to catch up a little bit, and some of these are kind of weak. Now you can see how Tezos is getting here into this improving quadrant, especially on the weekly charts. And there's something that you could look at in terms of investment, because it seems that it's going to want it to kind of get from a lagging quadrant to over to an improving one, and then maybe get into the leading quadrant as well. So same for ADA up here, and EOS kind of even cut some corners and is trying to get back in there. Now if I change this from a 1 week to a 1 day, you can see how this is kind of where we are on the strength. So each of these tails, it's about, again, 4 or 5 days on here. So you can see how Litecoin is actually leading Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is a little bit lagging behind Litecoin, so Litecoin is a little bit stronger, some of the percentage gains than Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is the one that's kind of making the news, right, as we're kind of making new highs in here. Ripple is all the way down here with all the news and all the trouble that's kind of seems to be going through, and it's kind of pointing down. So it's not something that's very, very interesting. Maybe by the time it's going to start to turn up, maybe get a little bit closer to push back in here, then it would have a little bit more my attention. XLM, it's starting to point higher in here, and although it's underperforming, I think this has a little bit better chances than Ripple. And then BNB is on here, and yeah, so on. So this is something that we watch. I present this to my members as well, and we monitor and take trades based on this as well. So this is what I have my dollar index as a as a benchmark, and then back in here the benchmark, it's actually Bitcoin. So you can see how and this is again, it's a 1-day relative rotation, and you can see how all of them are underperforming Bitcoin, with the exception of Litecoin. That's into the leading quadrant and continues to kind of lead back in here. Bitcoin is up at the center. So as I'm kind of sliding back on daily, you can see how if I'm going back to November, let me just kind of make this a little bit and just kind of pull it to the middle, right? This is back November 24th. You look at Ripple, how strong it was. And then it kind of moved, right? And then it started to, even if I go much higher, I mean, it's been both of them, right? Ripple and Stellar, they've outperformed a lot. And then as I push it out, you can see how they're turning and coming back here, and they're weakening up. And then Monero was leading up there for a while, Bitcoin, and as it kind of turned, and then you got kind of Litecoin moving from that improving quadrant, getting up higher there into the leading. So this is where we are. And then I also have one that kind of compares it with the S&P 500 to make sure that you're outperforming the main index there, and see how well you do with your exposure to crypto and which ones are better compared with that. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about this. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and you kind of got some valuable information. Again, please subscribe to the channel, and I would love this channel to continue to rise and get more subscribers and people to visit and see what we're doing, and maybe get some helpful information about how we position ourselves and how we look at the markets overall. Come and visit us into the pro room. It's a very active pro room. We take quite a bit of trading in there in different asset classes, and we look at everything from oil to gold, again to S&P 500, to stocks lately, to to cryptos, and we have advantages of some of these tools that tell us where to be and where to not to be, and so it's interesting. The link to that is below. We also have a public forum where you guys can exchange ideas and talk about all these different things. And again, I appreciate you from continuing to subscribe to the channel and watch my videos. And again, I'll see you in about a week. We'll do another one I started a new series that's called the Macro Cafe, and on that one we talk a little bit more the other markets. I'll do that in the next week, and then a couple of weeks from now we'll talk more about Bitcoin and Ethereum. But in the meantime, if you wanted to kind of be on a day-to-day grind about what we're doing and look at the smaller time frames and commentary on daily videos, visit us in the pro room, and all that information is out there. So again, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.